session brought to you by the Orlando United Assistance Center. Just to give you a little pretense about the Orlando United Assistance Center, we were created after the Pulse tragedy as a response to those who were primarily impacted. Our mission is to assist those in Central Florida who are affected in the long-term healing through targeted mental health, community building, and raised awareness. Currently, our physical location is closed for the safety and of our families and our staff, but we do want to let you know that we are continuing to work remotely to serve our community during this time. I want to go through and kind of give a brief introduction of everybody. Today's session is going to be facilitated by the OUAC team, and we're joined today by some amazing guest speakers. My name is Gabriela Rodriguez. I serve at the Orlando United Assistance Center as a community development and case manager for the last 3 years. I'm a mother of 3 boys, 2 that live at home full time, and my oldest that goes back and forth. Michael?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Freeman. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. In addition to a private practice, I support the Orlando United Assistance Center, the team, and our survivors. Cynthia?
Hi, I'm Cynthia Arrington. I serve as a front desk receptionist and office administrator. I've been a part of the team since day one, and we're here as a team just trying to support our community and our clients and just keeping each other during the pandemic.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jesse Arias. I am also part of the OUAC team. I am a case manager. I have been with OUAC since May of 2017.
Martha?
I'm Martha Perez. I am a stay-at-home mom of 5 children and also 2 nieces and nephews, so a total of 7 children. And I am here as a co-speaker.
Thank you. Dave?
Hi, my name is Dave Hollenbach. I'm a former fire department battalion chief, volunteer for the OUAC, and happy to be involved with this podcast.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. So basically we just wanted to come together to do a loose conversational check-in with everybody. Our goal with this Together We Thrive series is to be able to bring a weekly podcast on a variety of different topics and experiences that will generate the needed knowledge and support that we can use moving during these critical days. So the topic that we are talking about today is caregiving in a time of COVID-19 and what that looks like. I do want to take a moment and acknowledge that everyone's experience is different, and in hopes that those that are listening may take away the tools to use in their settings, provide space, and know that you're not alone in any of these feelings and thoughts. And basically, we were trying to come up with different innovative ways to connect and to be able to share and comfort and help each other. So can we go next screen? I can't see the screen, I'm sorry. So is it the send in questions and topics? Okay. Well, anyways, we want to urge everyone to send in any of their questions, topics, and concerns to address or that you'd like to collaborate on. Join us as a guest speaker. Again, everyone has a different perspective and so many different experiences and topics that we may have not necessarily thought of, and we can help you develop whatever that looks like. So our contact information is below. This is posted on our YouTube. Could you go into that a little bit, Michael?
Yes, the OUAC has a YouTube channel, and please make sure that you subscribe. You'll see that right down below. So hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you hit the like button. There's a notification that we would appreciate that you would hit as well. It will notify you every time we put a new video up. We welcome your comments. You're going to see resources and everything that's a part of today's discussion and every discussion that we have. So if you will do that for us, we would appreciate it. Gabby?
So it'll be the podcast that's available, and there will also be a link to a one-page handout kind of on like the specific resources that we discuss here so that you can use them as well. So like I said, we're going to be talking about caregiving in this time and what that looks like. A lot has changed within the past weeks and continues to change. I think that's the idea of uncertainty is on the minds and forefronts of everybody. With our school-age children transitioning to online school, that being this week, what that has looked like for some, others with the loss of employment or being postponed, how many businesses open again. Some with having to transition with working remotely as well. So there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of emotions, and there's a lot of feelings that are currently happening right now. So I just want to kind of go around and see where everybody is at, and then we'll get into further discussion. Michael?
I think that what is so very important for us at this time, and because my background is in mental health and wellness, that trying to determine ways that you can best survive and thrive in time of a place where there are just so many things that we have no control over. And so this aspect, and we're going to talk a lot about that through this process, and also as we go through many of our other sessions that we do around how to keep yourself centered, how to keep yourself focused, and how to keep yourself mentally well. Cynthia?
Right now, my perspectives and my hopes right now are just trying to stay focused and not look at so much social media, but just processing this information and our current crises with as much positive thoughts as I can. Being at home and learning how to use technology now is at the forefront, and one of the tools we're using now to just process our new norm. But as a pastor and a person of faith, I'm grounded in that hope that it's all going to get better.
Jesse?
So for me, it's just, it's been crucial to constantly be able to talk to people and remind myself that there is an outside world, and that, you know, we're not alone in this. People are going through their own, you know, everyone's going through the same thing, but and it could be very different. So it's nice to be able to talk to other people, have video conferences or podcasts, to be able to vent a little bit and make sure that, you know, everyone's doing okay, or see how everyone's doing too.
Martha?
For me, my perspective going through all of this is definitely to being flexible, you know, considering that there are so many children in the household of different ages, and continuing to stay positive, renew my mind by continuing to be able to have time to just read and keep myself out of the social media loop for the most part, but also checking in with others and seeing how they're doing, especially since, you know, I do have friends who are essential workers and are in the hospitals, and making sure that they're okay. I do like to send, you know, messages and checking in with them. And then with my children, definitely keeping them occupied and distracted. Mine are younger, so they're not on social media, but also keeping them away from the news so that their anxiety doesn't build up.
Great points. Thank you. Dave?
Well, to kind of build off of what Michael said, understanding what we have control over and what we don't have control over, kind of reassessing that on a daily basis. I subscribe to an email, Daily Stoic, and I read those emails with my daughter, just kind of keeping her grounded, knowing that we don't have control over everything that's going on, and we just make the best of it on a daily basis. And staying connected with family that are throughout the country, through Facebook and text groups and that sort of thing. Just making sure everybody's okay.
I agree. I think you guys made all valid points, and that's something that I was going to mention is that whole idea of what you can and you can't control. I think Michael had mentioned that in a previous discussion, and I had seen a meme about it afterwards, and I was like, wow, that really makes sense, because I know, at least for me, like I was like, no, I need to be able to do absolutely everything, and my kids are going to get 8 hours worth of school, then I'm going to do this, and I had so many expectations, and then finally, like, once my anxiety actually like manifests, I was like, that's not gonna happen. And I needed to be okay with it. And it was awesome to see other parents and other memes and other things online that said it was okay. Because for me, I was like, well, then I'm not accomplishing absolutely anything. Like, so it's honestly been truly like a trial and error. Evaluating, narrowing down on what I can and I can't control, and being able to focus in on the kids and how they're feeling. Because I think with the non-understanding of the concept of time and what that looks like, it can become very uneasy for a child. No, well, you said this or you said that. Well, it's nighttime now. Like, let's go out tomorrow then. So like how that conversation develops and what that looks like for them. So really like tuning into them. But again, it's definitely been a learning process. And again, I think we're only in week 2. So learning from others has definitely been a great tool for me, and seeing how others are working together to get through this. And I give it to our schools and our teachers and all those that have helped our children learn, because it is definitely a whole nother concept in having to take on that pressure of trying to make sure that their learning is the best as possible. But there are such amazing tools online, and the teachers have done such an amazing job at putting it together within a week's notice, while they're still working within their families and they're still working on whatever they're going through, because again, this affected everybody. So again, it's a learning process. So what would you say that some changes or edits in your life have been since then? Like, I know for me, an example of the being mindful when I take the kids on a walk. So we pass the playground, and knowing that the kids aren't able to necessarily play on the playground. I think in the beginning, week 1, I was so reactive to my youngest child when he quickly went to the playground, and I was like, okay, let me back up, calm down, and reevaluate this. And I explained to him thoroughly why. And even though I explained to him beforehand, I'm not getting so upset about it, but understanding that this is going to take some time. Like, we are going to pass up the playground. We are going to want to play, but let's figure out different alternatives. Let's draw with sidewalk, or let's draw with chalk on the sidewalk. And while we're still outside getting the fresh air. So like finding different alternatives for them has definitely been something that I found, as well as I think being able to be apart from my oldest and what that risk looks like with getting him, navigating school with him, trying to keep in touch has been very different. So trying to be gentle with myself and him as well, because I think we are now getting an excess of internet time and what that looks like. So kind of pressing the pause button, but still finding connection and what that looks like, I think is important. And I think the last point that I'd wanted to touch on is the cultural shifts. I think with being Latinx, I've noticed myself, like our closeness with giving each other kisses on the cheek, I've noticed myself having to stop that. So, or being more mindful of it. So those are things that I have noticed that I've made changes in my life. What are some thoughts from you?
I think for me, not only as a father, but as a grandfather, it's hard for me not to be able to squeeze my grandchildren. And so, again, I'm appreciative of the technology. We're actually going to have a session this evening. And so I have a daughter who lives in Apopka and another one in Atlanta. And so we're all going to get together to just kind of catch up and check in. And I think that is an incredibly tough piece. And I think culturally, because as someone who is from the South, that, in addition to we say, bless your heart, we do it as we hug and kiss you, that it's hard not to do that. And so these are very definite changes. I think as a therapist, doing therapy over technology or virtually has been a real learning curve for me, because a lot of my work is with trauma survivors. And so in many cases, I fill the gap in terms of them feeling safe. And if we have to do therapy in a place they don't feel safe, it really does become less effective. Thanks. Cynthia?
Well, yeah, I touched on it earlier. One of the major changes I've done is having virtual church as a pastor, and ministering on Zoom or other platforms is challenging, interesting, and it's a learning curve that I was pushed into, and I'm enjoying it. Also, I have 8 grandchildren who are part of my church. I don't get to see them, so I know I had a session with 2 of my grandchildren earlier this week, which was amazing. Excuse me. However, one of my grands was saying, "But I want to see you now," so that was breaking my heart. But just trying to explain to them why I can't come over, why Mimi can't come over. Mimi has to talk to them over the phone or on their computer is an adjustment for my heart. Also, I know I share with Michael and Gabby and the team that it's taken everything for me not to have to run up the road 5 hours to see my mom, who's 87. She lives by herself, but she's very independent. But of course, because of the coronavirus really being hard on those who are elderly, who have already existing underlying conditions, that worry or that anxiety is there. So trying to stay calm, and I call her every day, a couple times a day sometimes, just to settle my own nerves, right? And so these are just some adjustments. Trying not to eat so much, trying to be healthy, and not cook, because I love comfort food. So this is a whole lot of a gamut of different things that I'm learning to have to adjust to. Even as you heard me cough, I'm so aware of my coughing now. I have chronic bronchitis, but I'm like, is that cough different from the other time I coughed? And so it's just a lot of things that are heightened in my mind at this time. So, but just trying to cope with a positive mind.
Thank you. Jesse? Jesse, you there?
Yeah, sorry, I had to unmute myself. So for me, it's been pretty much, we don't have any children, but just hearing everyone's story and hearing what people or parents or people that have an extended family with them at home definitely puts things into perspective for someone like me, because it's like, oh man, like, that's right. Like it's a 24/7, if kids want to play, if kids are hungry, or, they need to keep, staying entertained. So it definitely makes me more empathetic, to once again just remind myself, like, hey, there are always people that could be using help. So it puts things into perspective for me in the sense that it's not just about me or as people as an individual, but it changes my sense of responsibility as a community member, to always say, hey, if you guys need help, like, if I could be of any help or assistance or service, like, please reach out, let me know, or let one of us know. So that's, I would definitely say that my sense of responsibility has definitely been at the forefront of all this.
Thank you.
Well, for me, the transition of being at home is not much different since I'm a stay-at-home mom. The main difference for me is not being able to take the kids out to do the things that they love to do, going to the theme parks or going to visit friends and family that, now we're back in Florida. I moved recently from Wisconsin, and they still can't see the people that they love and miss. And the other big change is we're not used to having daddy at home. So having him at home and him getting used to our routine is a little different, because they're like, okay, when is daddy leaving now? Like, is he going to work today? And no, daddy's going to be home for a while. So they enjoy it, but then they're like, oh, but this is not how we do things. So now they're teaching daddy our routine, which
Yeah.
is fun. But we're doing really well, and we're enjoying this family time.
Awesome. Dave?
My experience has been very similar to Martha's, not being able to take my daughter out to do activities or invite her friends over for sleepovers, or making cookies or stuff like that. Just finding things to do with her, explore the neighborhood, go on walks, just doing fun things at home. We've been playing a lot of cards and doing a lot of cooking. So that's how I've been managing it.
That is awesome. Thank you for sharing all of those experiences. Again, it gives a different perspective of how everyone is working through this. So another topic that I think is extremely as important is how are we talking to our kids about this virus? They've heard from their friends at school, before they got out of school. They heard from social media, if they have access to social media. I know for myself, I learned quickly of the idea of not having the county, the state, and the national updates while they're up and awake, and making sure that that's something that I do in another time, because that definitely caused high anxiety. It caused a lot of questions. So for me, I think I was able to confront the topic head on when they asked me a lot of the questions, because they were receiving a lot of information at school. I think it was the weekend before we went on the lockdown. I ordered Chinese food, and my son was very quick to say, "No, we can't eat that." And it didn't cross my mind until later, and I said, "No, they're looking for responses from us on how we're handling this and what they've heard." So being able to tell him that how the virus works, and that no, eating Chinese food is not going to give you coronavirus, that it does not recognize race, age, ethnicity. So being able to stomp those myths for him gave him better clarity. I know that they had an amazing book called a kid's book about COVID-19 that's recently come out that we read together, and he's going to be reading. So finding credible resources that they're able to read and that you're able to read, but that are also age appropriate. I know that for my older children, for my older child, I found a comic
what they told them in school, and pretty up to date with also, well, he has internet access, so he Googles everything. But with the little ones, we read a book called What Are Germs by Usborne, and it teaches them, where germs come from and how they develop and things like that. So they get that concept. Then we also watched the movie, I want to say it's called Contagious or Contagion. Not completely age appropriate for all of them, but the ones that did watch it, we kind of compared and contrast on what the coronavirus is versus that. But also, they were doing social distancing and, trying to understand the concept of social distancing in school age children is very difficult. But the movie kind of made it more vivid for them to understand, okay, well, I need to stay away from people because I don't want to get sick. And I don't want to be sick like that and die. And so they understand the concept of dying in that aspect when it's something real and they can actually see. So I thought it was important to be able to watch that and, talk to them about it, just because life is uncertain and everything is changing rapidly and we don't have all the answers to everything. But the more that we're able to communicate, even though if it's through the phone or Zoom, we can clarify things and that lowers anxiety. And I thought that that was really important for them.
I agree. Thank you. How about you, Dave, and talking to your daughter?
Well, her mother is a nurse, and I asked her if her mom had discussed the COVID-19 with her, and she said a little bit. I asked her if she understood the stay-at-home order, the quarantine process, and that sort of thing. And she's 13, so she's got an idea. But the way I explained it to her was that the virus, when it spreads, it's much like the flu. It's airborne, and it can live on surfaces for days, and that's why we have to be so careful about what we're touching when we go to the grocery store, and we carry hand sanitizer, making sure that we clean our hands before we get back in the vehicle, when we leave the grocery store, and then when we come home, unloading the groceries, making sure that we clean our hands and clean any surfaces that we touched, just because if it can live on a surface and just transferred by touching, we also don't want to touch our face, because then we could become exposed to the virus or infected with the virus. And while we might not get sick as bad as somebody that has to be hospitalized, the fact that if we get infected and then spread it somewhere else, some unsuspecting person or a child might touch that and bring it home, and through multiple people touching and spreading, somebody down the line could become infected and end up dying. So that's why we want to be careful, just to protect others.
I agree. Thank you for that, Dave. I think you guys all made valid points. I think being able to incorporate them into the solution, the whole carry around the hand sanitizer or make sure we're washing the hands. I know that what was it? The Shark song came out with a hand washing song. So having them being a part of that solution, I think, is extremely important, and it gives them a better understanding of what's going on for the time being. So the next point that I wanted to go into is open space to recognize the feelings of unknown. So we have birthday celebrations coming up. We have, or that have already passed, graduation. Michael, do you mind giving us a little bit more on that?
Sure. I think one of the things that is very, very important to recognize, and particularly with children, is that these events are very important to them. And so explaining what this means, having them trying to understand that this isn't forever is really important. Validating their feelings is also very important. And so making sure that we don't use language such as don't feel that way, don't cry, those are not helpful. What is much more helpful in that situation is if they're expressing feelings, is to be able to understand where those feelings are coming from. What are you feeling? I'm feeling sad. What is the sadness about? Well, because I don't get to have my birthday party. Okay, well, you don't get to have your birthday party now, but we are going to have your birthday party. And so the aspect of knowing how important these events are actually to most of us, and even though as adults, my daughter's birthday was Sunday, and you know, although we had a virtual birthday party, it wasn't the same. And the joke was, here, honey, I'll Venmo you some money. You can't go out and buy anything, but maybe you can order it from Amazon. And so, you know, trying to think of ways in which to get past the event is very important.
I agree, Michael. I know for myself that's been difficult, acknowledging some of the disappointments along with acknowledging the good things that are currently happening. And how do you do that in the midst of all this happening? I know for myself, I had my CDC picture come out and I wanted to blast it all on social media, and I'm like, this is not the time to be doing this. Like, why? No. So, but I was super proud of it. It was something that I was proud of. So I journaled it. I don't journal, but I journaled it for that moment in time because it was something that I wanted to express out to somebody. I didn't have anybody to express it out to. So at a later time, I would post that further. But same thing like with the boys. Like for Nicholas, his birthday is coming up, and I know my oldest, his birthday is coming up too, and they had these plans. So now trying to make what those plans look like for the future, and acknowledging them, talking with them through it, because they're disappointed. They've worked super hard and they've invested their time and their energy into a lot of these activities. So what I found for me is acknowledging those disappointments and giving them that space and allowing, like you mentioned, Michael, their creativity to create something for the future. I think it's definitely been something that's helped me out. Do we have any other thoughts?
Well, as again, a pastor, validating feelings of stress to combat the question of faith. You know, it's like one of my members was like, "Well, Pastor, I have anxiety, and does that mean, you know, I don't believe God?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. You know, we are human, and this is a critical time, not just for our community, but for the world. People are lives. You know, people can die from this, and so it's not a lack of faith to say, okay, we can't have a service, or you can't go around your family, or you can't do things as norm. It's not a lack of faith. It's called wisdom. And so trying to encourage, you know, people of faith, you know, that there is healthy fear. There is healthy anxiety. It's real. It's not unfounded, you know. And so we validate their humanity, and it needs to be validated so that they don't feel like something's wrong with them because, you know, they don't feel safe or can't go to church, or, you know, so it's important. It's important. And so I find myself trying to find situations in scripture to use to help them see that this is not something new. You know, there have been crises, there have been plagues, you know, in the world before, but faith can help them, but not to beat themselves up because they do experience those anxieties or have those questions and what ifs, and so I think that's important. It's important.
How has that been for you, Martha, with trying to keep the kids basically on that routine? I know that you mentioned that your husband is now at home now. So like, how have you been able to navigate the kids with that and giving them options and autonomy of their own?
Well, the kids bring on anxiety all on their own because there's so many of them, and they have such a different dynamic. And when some are trying to mellow down, others are raging with tons of energy. It's just kind of distracting them, trying to find new different things. Daddy was super creative yesterday in incorporating a math game that everyone could play. So it was basically giving every child a math problem, and then they had to race the time, but with themselves, not against anyone else. So beating their own time with different math problems. So like the 13-year-old got a 325 times 17. And then the little ones, like what's 1 + 1 and 2 times 5, and just different ones. And every child had to just beat the time against themselves. And they really enjoyed it. They had a lot of fun, and it kind of mellowed out the anxiety that they were having throughout the day. So just making random games out of anything, or random dance parties for no reason. And apparently, because TikTok now has a lot of different crazy dance moves.
You
So
downloaded it? I'm still trying to, I'm debating if I'm gonna download
I
it.
haven't. My husband and my sister have it, and they did it with the kids while I was on a Zoom call yesterday. So I came out and I have my 1-year-old dancing too. I'm like, what is going on? So yeah, they had a ton of different random things, but they all tie in together and just kind of mellow everyone out. And it's because we can't control what's going on in the world. So we can only control what we do and how we take care of ourselves, and being able to teach them that it's important to care for yourself, love yourself, give yourself, time to have energy, and, distract yourself from the chaos in the world.
I agree. Well, that goes straight into the next topic, and I think you merged into it beautifully. Martha, that's why I'm going to ask you to continue on what you do. What do you find comfort in? Like you mentioned some of the things that you created with the kids, but how do you find comfort, and when do you find comfort?
For me, definitely, well, like Cynthia, I'm very spiritual. If it wasn't for, I guess, growing up in church, I don't think that I would have the faith or the strength to go through all of this. Just because of remembering Bible verses on fear and not having to fear, and also being able to read and take time for myself, even if it's just 15 minutes to drink my coffee and either read an email or read a Bible verse or read a book that has nothing to do with faith, just in that essence that calms me down and kind of shifts my mind to something positive. I also keep myself extremely busy doing online learning, and finding new online careers. Just because I'm a stay-at-home mom doesn't mean that I don't keep busy. I'm licensed to do body wraps. I'm a licensed cosmetologist. I homeschool. Basically, what do I not do is the question. I definitely keep myself busy and keep my mind focused on other things, because once it's said and done and over with, there's so much more that we have to do, and so many things that we need to accomplish. And I want to continue to push myself to further grow mentally, emotionally, and physically. So I just keep my mind going.
That is awesome. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Michael, do you have any thoughts on what do you find comfort in, and how do you find comfort, especially with being able to connect with your grandkids,
I think for me, it is absolutely being outside. And so trying to take Lila the Wonder Dog for walks is very helpful. I practice meditation and, obviously being in the career that I am, knowing things like music, how you ground yourself with that, just some of those ritual practices are very, very helpful. There is, and we've talked about it a couple times, and it's what I use with clients, is when I find myself ruminating or going to the yeah, but what, I always say I have a thing that I do to say we have to stay out of and stay off of the island of yeah, but. And so again, what do I have control over today, and what do I not have control over today? And so pulling myself away from social media, I've narrowed things down to two news sources that I get a tweet about. And so if it's something I want to do more of and listen to, then I will. But most of this becomes very hyperbolic. It becomes very provocative, and I can't do anything about that. And so understanding whether it's for me, for my children, for my grandchildren, of being able to help them understand, how do you ground yourself? What is it you see around you that still makes you feel safe and secure? That's what gets us over into that place of anxiety. And so, if feeling safe and secure is sitting with Lila next to me, then that's what I will do when I begin to feel that way. That seems to help me. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. Ms. Cynthia, what have you found comfort in? And again, also connecting with your kids and your grandkids and your mother as well. How has that?
Of course, using this platform, Zoom, where I can see my children's faces, and especially having my warm fuzzies are my grandchildren too. And so just to hear them laugh and talk and want to see me as I want to see them, that helps, of course, ease some of the anxiety. And of course, my faith, as Martha was saying, scripture, songs, praise and worship, ground me, helping people, getting on the phone, calling somebody who, and then in this moment, we know people are struggling with faith, they're struggling with fear. And so I have a list of people I can call, and I do call and check on them. Of course, my mom every day. But then I'm very gifted and talented, and I've shared with Michael and you all that, Gabby, that I'm making face masks.
Yes.
For some organizations, and some people are buying some, and I had to stop that because it was diverting me from my goal, which was to make some to give to some facilities. So, and I told them once I get a couple of hundred done for the facilities, and then I'll start selling them to some other people outside of my family that I made some for. So just doing creative things, and I've got a list. I've started spring cleaning in all my rooms. just doing something to stay focused and positive, because I have a very vivid imagination. And so I just keep myself occupied with positive things. I saw something on TV this morning that just made my heart melt. One lady in her community dropped off some chalk for all of her neighbors, and she told them to just make hearts and messages on the street in front of their houses and the sidewalks. And so she had one of the I can't think of the name, they fly over things, but she had a model plane, I want to call a model plane that flies over, has a camera, you all know the name of it. But anyway,
A drone.
She had a drone, And
That's
so we flew the drone over her community, and you could just see all the hearts and the messages that the neighbors all just got out and just drew with the chalk. It was just so heartwarming. And so that helps me to know that these worst of times brings out the best also in people. I know it brings out the worst, but right now I focus on how can I bring out the best in somebody? How can I make somebody smile? You know, and take the focus off of my anxiety. It helps me. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jesse, what are some of your thoughts on what you find comfort in? What have you been able to? Yeah.
Some of the things that we have found comfort in have definitely been, we've been fortunate enough that we have a backyard, and we've always been big on nature. So we've kind of took some leftover 2x4 pieces of wood, and Shirley has made some like little bird feeders, and I've gone ahead and looked into like planting and, you know, seeding and stuff like that. So that's been keeping me pretty preoccupied, and you know, it's a natural process. So it kind of reminds me that, you know, some things are just out of my control, and I just have to sit back and, you know, hope for the best. But definitely just gardening. I love watching movies, so definitely revisiting some of the classics, and just trying to, you know, give myself little projects here and there to keep entertained, and that keeps my mind pretty busy and all the stuff.
Well, didn't you mention the other day about the birds, and you and Shirley, like, now the birds come at a certain time, and now that's something that you guys look forward to, so.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like now we know what times they come out. So now we know when the squirrels come. It's usually around 8 to 9:30, and then once the sun goes down, it's usually around 5 to like 6:30. And so we'll sit out there and watch them from the windows. And so we've had like some blue jays, cardinals, definitely squirrels, and we saw a hawk actually catch one of the pigeons the other day. So, you know, it's been, yeah. So it's been good. It's been interesting, and it's been definitely nice to just watch and keep entertained.
Thank you. Dave, how about you?
One of the things I've been doing, one of the things that I find comfort in is cooking, and my stepbrother in Illinois established a Facebook group called Quarantined Foodies. So me and quite a few of my family members and family friends are in this group now, and we're all posting pictures of the meals we're making.
Wow.
And just kind of rediscovering some culinary skills, and
I like that.
it's been pretty fun and pretty delicious. And you know, we've been getting outside, exercising quite a bit. That's one thing that I've found comfort in, is just fresh air and exercise, getting the blood flowing, and you know, trimming down a little bit. So feeling better about myself in that regard. And
Nice. Thank you. So I think for myself, what I found comfort in is a lot of things that people have mentioned already. So the whole getting out into nature, I think one of the things that we started at the beginning of the school week is creating a goal that we wanted to accomplish, and then finding who would keep us accountable. So mine was learning how to stop on roller skates. So I've watched about 3 YouTube videos that the kids have helped me find, and it's going pretty decent. I can stop within range, but just finding different innovative ways. So we've done that. We had a race the other day where it was scooter, roller skate, and bike. So getting out into the fresh air. One of my son's goals was gardening. He wants to know more about gardening. So I know for myself, we had to take some of the plants home from the office. So I'm now like trying to learn how to keep them thriving and what that looks like. So now Googling the information. So I've been able to like add him into that. So I've actually found comfort in that. So that's been interesting because at first I was really big on not having a green thumb and not wanting to have anything to do with it. So I've actually been able to find comfort in the whole gardening piece to the point where I sprouted a flower. I don't even know what it is, but it was part of the seed paper. So I'm super excited to see how that's going to grow. Uh, I've tried meditation. It's currently definitely a work in progress to try to refocus your mind. And just finding just different fun, innovative ways. I'm a big board game person, so I've gotten back into my big board game, playing board games, and painting I've done. And I think the whole online learning, I think now that things have gone to like Zoom and stuff like that, things have gotten so much more accessible. And there is so many different learning opportunities and people teaching different yoga at 3 and mindful meditation at 5 and organizing tips at 4. Like I've now learned that Eventbrite has a whole bunch of different places you just have to look, register. And yeah, there's so many things online that can connect us without us being within space and how we can learn so many things. But definitely the whole piece of the control on what I can and I can't control has definitely been something that I've now focused on, and just letting it be a learning experience, the same along with my kids. So a couple of things that I wanted to go over is how the examples that we gave as far as like being able to connect with nature, utilizing art and music to distract. Some of us mentioned how we've helped others, like you mentioned, Miss Cynthia, the whole chalk, how those kids or whoever gave out the chalk and how you were able to see that and that gave hope and that gave people, yeah, I don't even know what the word is, but yeah, it provided them hope. I know some are writing to grandparents. I saw something yesterday that was adopt a grandparent, and you can do that online, and they'll set you up with a Zoom video session. So I think more than ever, we're connecting with each other, and I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's definitely a learning process, but I think that we'll get through this together. And if you can help in any way, give blood. If you have a family member that can't leave their house or with a compromised immune system, text them, offer to pick them up. If you are able to, offer to pick up their medications or their groceries. And honestly, just check in. A text message can go so far, because in isolation, especially when many are suffering from depression and anxiety and all these other things at this time, I think there's that moment of like left hopelessness. And when you get that text that says, hey, how are you holding up? How are you doing? Like, it gives that glimmer of hope and patience. And you develop that patience and what it looks like. And hopefully you can reach out to somebody else. I know for myself, one of the things that is help somebody else with technology, with my grandmother trying to get her set up on the Zoom message. Be patient is definitely something else. Being patient while describing these things out as far as like the technology for our older folks, I would say when we do go out to the stores, be patient with our grocery store clerks and the gas station and everybody else. The other day I went to the store and I saw like gloves just laying around everywhere, and it was something that really hurt my heart, and I was like, wow, like we're better than this. We can definitely, we can help. We need to help each other out. So smile at somebody, be nice to the people at the cashier register, be nice to those, the sanitation workers that are coming to pick up your garbage, those that are out doing jobs while others are at home. I think just being nice to each other. The humanity piece is what we definitely need to bring back, and sharing our information responsibly, stomping those myths that we do hear, and overall just checking in on each other, I think is extremely important. Ms. Cynthia, would you mind going into some of our important awarenesses? I think Dave was able to highlight many of them.
Yeah,
Iterate some of them for us.
he did earlier. And again, we're here to support you, not to foster panic, but preparedness is what we've been saying. And just to encourage you again to, again, Dave did go down some of them, to sanitize your counters with disinfectant often, you know, as you place things on them, especially coming in from the grocery stores. Just clean the counters, wipe things off frequently, wash your hands frequently for at least 20 seconds is the recommendation. Avoid touching your eyes, your nose, or your mouth with unwashed hands. Avoid close contact with sick people. Yeah. Stay at home if you're sick. Only go out for essential needs, and practice social distancing, which is right now standing at least 6 feet away from other individuals. If you got a cough or sneeze, cough in your elbow to cover it up. Use tissue, and if you use tissue, immediately throw it away in the trash. And again, use sanitizer that has at least 60% or higher alcohol in it. And as I'm ending my session, I know this will give everyone a chance to think about something you want to leave with the community that's watching us. Mine is always be safe, be wise, and believe in God's love. Thank you. Michael?
He's muted.
Oh, okay. Or Gabby, all right, give it back to you with your.
I think my one word or my one phrase would be kind to one another and to be patient with one another. Martha?
Well, my takeaway is, you know, basically life is one and only. And for us to learn to self-care and self-love, and we can't care for ourselves, we can't care for others.
Jesse?
I think that, you know, definitely staying at home. Don't go out if it's truly necessary. You know, maybe for groceries, just stay at home. You know, just by staying at home, you're already playing a part in it, and it's not just about you. You know, you can feel fine, but you never know. And it's just making sure that some people who might have lower immune systems or can't fight off viruses as easy as other people can, you know, again, staying at home is definitely playing a part, and that's what I would say.
Dave, what would your final thought be?
Everybody has mentioned the whole point of what we have control over, what we don't have control over. It's rooted in stoicism, Stoic philosophy, but one piece of ancient wisdom from Marcus Aurelius, he said that, you know, what blocks the path or the obstacle is the way. So what blocks the path could improve the path. If you look at all the obstacles that have been put in place, being quarantined to our homes and that sort of thing, it has actually opened up a lot of opportunities that we wouldn't have otherwise recognized, being able to spend more time with family, revisiting books that we haven't read, or just getting closer to family, using the time to improve ourselves. And so the obstacle is the way. We keep that in mind. Maybe we can discover opportunities that we wouldn't have otherwise recognized.
If I could build on that, Dave, and sorry, I was muted because I was on the phone with a client. I do think that the aspect of the difference between hopelessness and hopefulness really is about how we process and how we think of it. And so that ability to be present, that ability to know that this isn't the way it's going to be forever. This is an opportunity, and my great hope is that we come out of this as a society very changed, that we look at each other differently, that we love each other harder, and that those things that have divided us, really, we understand are just not important at all. And so, Gabby, I'll throw it back to you.
Thank you for all your words. If we don't mind, can we go to the slide where it offers the resources, the CDC resources? So just wanted to give everybody these resources. They're the CDC and the World Health Organization. I also wanted to provide the Heart of Florida United Way response. They are currently assisting with a fund to support COVID-19. And they have all you have to do is contact 211. They're available 24/7. Text your zip code to 898-211. 24 hours, and they're able to navigate you to a variety of different resources within the community, or you can actually reach out to www.hfw.org/virus/, and you can find the English, Spanish version of the survey, and you'll have a case manager back to you within 10 days, the form state. Next slide mentions our social media. So for the current posts, we'll be posting this podcast on there. It'll live on our YouTube, but we'll have all our information about the podcast as well as the one-page handout of the resources. Please follow and like us on Facebook and Instagram, and we post the county resources as well for Orange, Osceola, and Seminole County. And my last words to everybody joining us is to be socially responsible, because everyone has a role in ending. Thank you.